Welcome to another Blathering Minisode. It's the three things on the Blathering, not live, recorded in the darkness of night. It's pretty dark out there. This is kind of a reworking of an old show. I'm Ken Napzok. If you don't know me, if you remember me, if you just discovered me, if you're just rediscovering me, or you're sick of me, hi, here I am. These are three things on my mind. It can sometimes be politics. It can sometimes be religion, all the things we're not supposed to talk about. But it could just be, I don't know, things I want to talk about. All right? It's a pretty simple concept. It worked back in the day. I'm in a weird mood. Yeah, this is not one of the things I want to talk about, but I had to go to the vet today. Not me. I would have taken the rabies shot, but I had to go to the vet. Franny, she's okay. But you ever get sticker shock from medical services for you or your pet or your car, and you just got your whole day is like you got things to do, but you're just kind of like, wow, that was a lot of money I didn't have. I think my whole day has been colored by that experience this morning. So let's get to it, and I hope to not blather around so much that I lose the point of what I'm talking about. The number one thing on my mind today is shared culture, shared pop culture. Let's be clear. This has been something I've been talking about, but I actually had a conversation about it today. I was explaining it to my aunt, and I saw, of all things, it was Mark McGrath talking about this. Sugar Ray guy, Mark McGrath. And he was talking about how the 90s, or the last, and I'll put words in his mouth, the last like full decade where we all had kind of a shared pop culture. And that's everything. Pop culture is culture, right? There's pop culture fluff. There's big movies that teach us important lessons. There's all the kind of things. You know, you've heard me talk about pop culture for years. But culture. And I've had this conversation many times, and I'm trying to find the line between being an old codger, an old stubborn cuss who talks about how it was better in my day versus embracing the change that is always going to come. And I always want to be in a position of embracing change, or at least open to it. And that's coming from someone who's been pretty stubborn his entire life. Mark McGrath, of all people. And I'm not talking bad about McGrath or Sugar Ray. I spun some Sugar Ray tunes back in my radio days, and they're fun. But here's what I'm on about. And what Mark McGrath was on about. That in the 90s, for the entire decade, and that's, again, into about 2004, 5, 6 range, I think. 07, you start getting iPhones, apps, explosion of YouTube starts to begins. MySpace is getting bigger and unwieldy, and Friendster's on the way out, and Facebook's on the way out. That's kind of the line, that 06, 07 range. You could start. I remember in that range, somewhere in that time, I was at my friend's house, and he had a TiVo. You could record. There's no VCR. There's no. Oh wow, things started to change there at the time. But this shared culture thing was that for the longest time, and again, McGrath was he. I don't know exact words, but he's like, I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse. I'm just saying this is how it was, and it was the last time it was like this. And maybe smart, and I'm adding maybe smarter people than I or Mark McGrath can figure out the damage or what it's done to us, and just the importance of the change, and if it's good or bad. But on Tuesdays, you knew you got new music. On Friday, you got new music videos. On Thursday, Seinfeld was on at 9 p.m. Home Improvement, Wednesdays, 9. Friends, 8 o'clock. Name your favorite show. Cosby's for me in the 80s at 8 o'clock. The Bill Cosby Show, The Tale of the Huxtables, right? You know, problematic as that is now, but that was one of my favorite shows. Cheers, Thursdays at 9. The Super Bowl. Commercials. We all had to sit through commercials, and therefore commercials became iconic. And we all kind of shared it all at once. Now, again, there was a lot of other things out there we weren't seeing. We were seeing in many ways. You know, if you were watching Friends, you might not have been aware of Living Single, and there's all the kind of conversations that have spun out. And I love analyzing pop culture and the different perspectives. But trying to put that on the shelf, just in general, talking about how we all kind of shared things, and that we're all so cordoned off now. And this isn't one of those put your phone down speeches. I have my phone right here. My phone is right with me. If you're listening to the audio version, I'm holding up my phone which is more than a phone. It is your life. I do my banking here. That's how I get to places on here. That's how I talk to people here. It's everything. This is my life. And it's hard to break. And I quite frankly don't want to break. That's maybe another conversation another time. Anytime someone's like, yeah, I deleted all these apps and everything. Like if it's to protect your mental health and, especially if you work in the digital media space and you want to kind of get away from it all. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. But I'm just saying sometimes when people are like, yeah, I've deleted myself from social media. It's like, well, then I won't see you again anymore. I won't know what happens to you because that's also what happened in the old days, which is why this is not about what's better or worse, just how it is. And I don't know if there's any damage to this, but we're all so cordoned off, right? When I got hired for the Y-Files in 2024 and worked there for them that year, I had never heard of it. I was told about it, told there might be an opportunity. I jammed my brain with a lot of their videos and was like, oh, cool, a lot of fun, let's work for it. I had never heard of it. They had 4 million subscribers, and I'd never heard of it. You have people with 25 million subscribers on YouTube, 25 million followers on TikTok. You have people with 90 million followers on TikTok that you and I haven't heard. And it's not just simply about, well, we ain't kids, right? Like my friend has his son is like 8-year-old son loves YouTubers who are like, they're like pranksters and do all these things. And he's telling me about it. And he's like, I hate it, but my kid loves it. And like, I never heard of it, but I also don't have a kid. So, my Chihuahua's not seeking that stuff out. But I still find it weird sometimes when I tell people, yeah, for a while I worked at Screen Junkies. And they look at me blank like, oh, good for you. I'm like, yeah, Honest Trailers. Maybe at that point, some people will be like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember that. Or nah, good for you. Don't know what that is. That was a 6 million subscriber channel that had a place in the pop culture zeitgeist. But also it didn't because it was on that corner. We all have these little corners. And now it's easy to say we all have these little algorithms. And I do think that's a separate conversation, a separate thing, and a separate danger. But I ain't smart enough to figure that one out either. And there is a push. Australia, right, has a push lately to kind of pull some of the youth off of social media. And I think it's in phones and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's layered because it isn't just simply that they're spending too much time playing, Minecraft. They ain't kids these days. Our brains are being rewired in certain ways. But that's not always bad. It's not always good. But I've had conversations with friends like, well, we're all not gathering around to watch Seinfeld anymore. We're not all gathering around to watch the finale of MASH or seeing that commercial. And will kids these days have those kind of shared experiences? You could go to someone from my generation and make a Where's the Beef reference. Now, that one maybe has a little bit more, a higher place in the pop culture world because Where's the Beef, Wendy's, it was so popular, right? I have a Chihuahua, as you all know. I still walk her, and occasionally someone will see her and say, "Oh, yo quiero Taco Bell." Like, yeah, exactly. You got it. I think, though, the kids these days will 20 years from now have their own references and their own shared experiences that I'm just not picking up on. And maybe some of this is nostalgia. Because, again, not all good. It was harder to get into this. I just released music with Brian Tiller and Sean Arnold. I couldn't have released music 30 years ago. We signed up. We have our thing. Boom, it's out there. So there's some big benefits to now. But you know what I mean? I was driving home thinking about this, having this conversation with my lunch man. I'm passionate about it. I want us to have more shared experiences. I don't want us to be as siloed off. I think there's great value. And it's kind of sports is kind of the last thing. We're going to a big movie. Barbenheimer might have been one of the last ones. But when we all had to sit down and watch something at a certain time, there's a greater energy behind it, greater sense of community. I have better memories of that. The last time I even kind of remember is Barbenheimer, but also The Mandalorian, season 1, episode 1, when we all were like on our new Disney Plus apps, refreshing to see, Midnight Pacific, where it was going to pop up, and friends texting. I have it on mine. If you go over to Roku, it'll pop up earlier now. If you go, that was fun. It was an important part of my Star Wars memories already. Just everyone gathering around, and I don't know if there's any tremendous value in that. I just feel there is something lost. I feel there has been something lost about we all don't gather around. Game of Thrones is an example. That show starts, 2011? Picks up speed in 2012. By 2013, definitely by 2014, it is the thing. It is the thing to gather around and watch. And you had to pay for HBO in general. You could have maybe found other ways. You had to pay for HBO. And then you knew at 6 o'clock, my time, 9 o'clock, your time, 8, your time, wherever it was, your time. The episode was on, the first run of it. And we all got to experience it. And that was, you had to. You could DVR it, you could TiVo it, but you were missing it. You would miss the moment. You had to avoid, that's when spoiler culture kicked up a high gear. Because back in the day, we didn't care about spoilers in the 80s. Lando Calrissian himself, Billy D. Williams, impressed for Empire Strikes Back, was like, yeah, I'm playing a bad guy. Well, at first, and then I do a switcheroo halfway through the movie. I think you like the character. Different time. But I think it wasn't so much about that being spoilers. It was the experience, being left out of the experience. Coming home from a hard day of work, and you're like, all right, now I get to watch Game of Thrones. I worked on a Sunday. This sucks. If I don't watch it at 6, I got to shut out. I got to shut down my computer, shut down my phone, not talk to my friends because I will have missed out, not just simply on figuring out the plot, but of the experience of it. And I think that is something that we have lost. And again, it's just on my mind, and it's an open forum discussion thing. Something maybe I want to talk more with others on other shows. But I'm not just simply nostalgic for it. It's not just simply like, I used to love going to Best Buy on Tuesdays and getting CDs. It's not just that I want CDs back. Not that I just want physical media back. It's that I really felt more connected with life. Right now, with what's going on in my life, being alone again, sitting in this house while I still have it. I have friends I talk to regularly, but I feel so disconnected from life. I really do. Not just because I'm sad, depressed, anything like that, but even on good days. Something will drop. Ken Burns' American Revolution. I sat down, and this is probably why it's on my mind. It just hit me. Ken Burns' American Revolution drops, and I currently have YouTube TV Live. And I'll just be blunt. I can't afford it. I'm maxing out a credit card to have it. Not smart, kids. But I'm doing it because I like live TV. If I could just all go back, if we all go back to cable, I think I'd be happier. But I want to say, I still like the streaming stuff. I still like going, hey, it's Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. I'm going to put on a Star Wars film. I'm going to go to Disney Plus. It's there. That's what was promised, this infinite library. Definitely, we're never going to take things off for tax reasons, but and that's why physical media is important. But I like it. It's a great convenience. That's why Spotify and Apple Music and stuff are what they are, despite a lot of, correct misgivings about them or problems with them. Because, I don't have to lunk around my CDs anymore. I have any bit of music I want right there. Like, I find that to be a good thing. But in all that and all this time, this year I've had of solitude, I feel really disconnected because we're all not experiencing things together. And I almost blathered myself out of this, but for the American Revolution, it was airing on PBS. I could have got the app, but it was airing on PBS, on YouTube TV Live, where I was getting my live TV. At 8 o'clock at night, 6-part series. And other than the Friday one, because I was out and I had to watch it later on the app, but for the first 5, I made a point to base my whole day around it. I got to get all my work done. I had to get my food prepared. If I want to work out, I'm going to do that before. If I need to walk Francis, I'm going to do that before. But at 8 o'clock, I need to be here in front of the TV. Now, I was one of the first people to really switch to watching TV shows the other way because I didn't like to be pinned down to 8 o'clock. What a great thing. I don't have to watch Friends at 8 o'clock. I can start at 8:15 if I want. I do love that change. But it wasn't just nostalgia. It was not just simply about, hey, when I was 25, I didn't have a lot of worries and I could watch TV with everyone else at 8 o'clock. But I sat down to watch the American Revolution at 8 o'clock every night and saw it for the first time with so many other people. and then I could go see reactions to it. And I don't always love seeing reactions to it. That was the Game of Thrones thing. We were all experiencing it, and then at one point later on, when we were all experiencing it at different times in season 7 and 8 on HBO Max or whatever the hell it was called then, HBO Go for a while. That was a different kind of. I wish we all could have experienced it at the same time, so I could leave all the comments behind at the same time, not have them filtered throughout my 24 hours of seeing stuff in season 8. Anyways, I digress. But you know what I mean? To sit down and watch it with everybody and to have my day build to this moment that I had to be present for because it's something I was invested in. It felt good. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel isolated from the rest of my circle or the people or things I was interested in. I never want to go back. I'm not saying we can go back. But it was a different time and a different feel, and we navigated the world in a different way. I'm not saying that the world would be a better place and we'd all come together politically and religiously and spiritually if we all got music dropped on the same day. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I miss those times, feeling connected to everyone else around you. Another thing on my mind is a Christmas movie. I sat down and I think I had to rent it, but I watched Last Christmas, a film from a few years ago, Paul Feig, co-written by Emma Thompson and her husband, Greg Weiss, is it? Story by them as well, or story by Emma Thompson, and someone else. Anyways, stars Emilia Clarke, and look, you all know I love Emilia Clarke. I just adore her as a performer. She is my Khaleesi. I think she's great. Celebrity crush through and through. Guilty as charged. But I had never seen the movie because, I don't watch a lot of things. But it had come up in a Blathering live stream, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to watch it. Shout out to David Mackay, who's like, yeah, no, it's good. You should check it out. And it got kind of bad reviews. It didn't last long. It kind of vanished. In fact, I barely knew much about it. I think I saw the trailer. But the only thing I really knew about it is on YouTube. You can find an extended full clip of Emilia Clarke singing Last Christmas. And I always thought it was adorable because everything, most things she does is adorable, unless she's, burning people alive with dragons. And so I watched it the other night. And I don't do movie reviews much anymore, but here's my movie review. It was really good. It was sweet. And I did go look at some of the reviews after, as a lot of people do. You watch a movie, and then you kind of go to Wikipedia and just kind of read facts and stories and weird things. This was filmed here. Do you know this scene was I love that stuff. And so, because I did that, I was stumbling on some of the reviews. Even some people I know, Alonzo Duralde and everything, who was a big Christmas movie fan. Yeah, it wasn't well received. And I could see why, right? A lot of times, it's not that I don't I don't dive into the world of criticism or I think things are above criticism. I look at some of the critiques and I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. It didn't have the story was not as full as I wanted it to be. And, a little more could have, a little more side character stuff could have been developed. I don't know, whatever. But none of that supersedes what I felt. It's exactly what I wanted. Was in the mood for a warm, sweet, sentimental, spiritual Christmas movie. Now, for those that haven't seen it, there's what I'll describe as a plot twist that a lot of people in the critiques were like, yeah, you can see it coming a mile away. And looking at it, I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I could tell something was up, and I won't go into it, but it also just got me thinking about how we take in art and how there's an art to experiencing the journey of these characters and stories. And I just had a conversation with Jared Buckman-Stubbs over at the Nerd Academy. It's going to come out in a couple weeks talking about Force Awakens. And we had a great conversation, overall, wonderful conversation. But we had some great stuff about Han Solo and Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens. So that's something I'll spoil. If you haven't seen that, there you go. But I'll try to preserve the Last Christmas spoiler. But I was someone who in 2015, when I saw that film for the first few times, Han Solo's death, my favorite character, didn't hit land with me. I didn't like it. I was underwhelmed by it. And it was also so predictable. We all knew Han was going to die. We all knew Harrison Ford was only going to come back to this film to be killed off. Blah, 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 blah. And so when Han Solo steps out onto the railless walkway to face his fate, to live or die and save his son in the process, either way, as it would seem to turn out there. It was a moment that didn't land for me because I kind of knew it was going to happen. And therefore, I missed so much of what was there. And so much was what was about the character's journey and the character's steps, both of them, but especially Han. This character that I loved. And it was, as I always give credit to, Joseph Scrimshaw, my buddy and co-host on Force Center, who back then on Jedi Alliance, when I called in, heard me say that kind of stuff. I didn't like the moment. It was predictable. And he said, yeah, I get that. But here's what was going on with the character. Here's the themes behind it. Joseph's also so great with themes, but just like, here's what was going on, and here's what it connected to earlier in the movie, and here's what Leia said to him: "Go get our son," and here's why it's important, and here's why I like the death, and I felt as though my pants had been pulled down and I was taunted, not by Joseph, but just by myself in that moment of here I was, reviewing Force Awakens on several spots, Force Center. Jedi Alliance, Screen Junkies, Schmoes Know, talking about Force Awakens, celebrating Force Awakens, a film that I love from the start, but also overlooking what was there in this moment and getting so caught up in the prediction model of talking about pop culture and getting so caught up in the, I could kind of see that was going to happen. Now, again, I'm talking in generalities here, but I like being surprised. That's why I don't like spoilers. That's why if I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, I'm going to wait to watch it and put aside the internet so you don't ruin anything for me. But Last Christmas has this big kind of thing that, again, is kind of predictable. And I was reading this film, and reading the reviews of this film, and I kind of felt bummed, man, because I was moved by it. I actually started to tear up when this kind of thing happens in the film. And I was like, that kind of makes sense, but it was such an important, powerful moment because the character, Katarina, that Emilia Clarke plays so wonderfully and so warmly and so funny and charming and so flawed and pained. And it's this wonderful moments, this wonderful realization. And there's these great themes in the movie about kindness and helping others and investing in others. And that's how you grow and that's how you change. And I just kept thinking, like, again, this isn't a perfect movie. I didn't need it to be a perfect movie, but this was a moment that moved me, and I ache for people that can't take in art and be moved by it. And I don't love everything. Just ask anyone who tries to get me to watch Wicked. I don't. We have our things, right? That's why I don't wade too much into the conversation about music and taste. Songs grab you or they don't. And it doesn't make a song bad if it doesn't grab you. It just means it's not for you. Music is connecting to our souls for the most part, right? When I share a song, I want you to love it. But if you don't, it's not because it's bad. It's because it wasn't for you, but it was for me. And movies are like that too, but things can be bad. Movies are made. It's hard to make movies. And Last Christmas isn't perfect. I like Paul Feig. I like his stuff. But, if someone was to say, it's a B+, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But the movie succeeded for me. The movie's a big win. I'm going to watch it again, probably next Christmas. I might even watch it on Christmas again. It succeeded for me because it moved me. It's a story about someone needing to change, wanting to change, having some problems, having some guilt about surviving, or what do you do with your own life and your own heart. And it hit me where I needed. And I'm so glad that it didn't get caught up in, like I did in 2015 with Han Solo's death, of, I saw that coming. It's such a sad way to watch things. I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean, like, I want you all to be able to connect to this. And again, it might not be for you. If Last Christmas wasn't for you, I'm not going to defend the Christmas rom-com starring Emilia Clarke, Last Christmas, to you. But if you haven't seen it, give it a try. And yeah, the whole time you're going to be watching going, well, Ken talks about a plot twist. And you might see it from the first second. But it's about the character's journey. That's why we come to these stories. We don't come to these big moments for the reveals. We don't come to these stories, these movies, or these books, or these comics, or these shows, or anything that you take in that's got narrative, that's got art. We don't need to come to them to cross your arms and be like, well, I knew that was going to happen. It's come up a lot lately because I'm looking back on Force Awakens. But that was the model of Screen Junkies and Collider and review shows back in the day. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of it was comedy. And I want to be clear, I loved my time at those places. I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Like with any job, there's some things I didn't love and some people I didn't love and some people I don't talk to anymore. Yep, got it. But I don't fault anyone. We were talking about art the way we kind of all knew it, knew how to talk about art, which is what you know, trivia, analyzing it from above and not from within it, and predicting what do you think's going to happen. That's valuable stuff. I talk about this more in the episode on the Nerd Academy podcast. The nerd, I think it's the Jared's shows, the Nerds of the Old Republic. Check it out. I think it's releasing on the 18th. But I talk more about this. We're like, I don't fault anyone. I don't fault myself because I was part of it. I have to forgive myself going into Force Awakens with that, like, okay, what's going to happen? Oh, I knew Han's death. I knew Han's death was going to happen. So predictable. That's how we took things in. That was the currency. What trivia did you know? Could you be above the story? A lot of reviews, and there's great reviewers out there. I think it's valuable to have critics. I actually really think it's good for society, but they have a different goal. But when we all got to do it, that's how you expressed what you knew. What could you predict? What did you know about it? What could you remember about it in terms of trivia? We didn't let ourselves experience it. I experienced Last Christmas with Emilia Clarke. Man, I loved it. It was warm and wonderful and sweet and syrupy, but also real. I highly recommend it. The final thing on my mind, man, it's kind of sad, but I don't know. I just wanted to be real and honest in my emotions. A lot going on in my life this year and all that kind of good stuff. But one of the things, if you're listening, following along on the Blathering, and this year I inadvertently adopted several members of the local wildlife community. Simply putting down some peanuts attracted 1 squirrel, 2 squirrels, 6 squirrels, 3 blue jays, 2 crows, neighborhood cats now in, an opossum now, and 3 skunks. It's been a dark year for me. I love animals so much. I have my dog back now. Francis is here with me, but during that time I didn't. And I had so much joy, and I felt so much warmth. Because again, as I said earlier, because I couldn't go to Best Buy on Tuesday with my friends, I guess. I've been really disconnected. And everyone's got their own lives, and everyone's got their own things. Check in on your friends. Check in on your friends. Check in on the people that matter to you. Even if it's once a month, every 2 weeks. I've just been alone this year a lot. But these squirrels every morning, I can't express the joy I had waking up. It's still the first thing I do. Now I have a dog I have to kind of deal with first, but now I go to the window. Who's here? Who wants food? Who needs new peanuts? Who needs new walnuts? Let's do this. I love animals so much. I bleed for them. When a kitten was kind of trapped between my house and my neighbor's house in the pouring rain, not 3-4 weeks ago, I stood out in my slippers, in my sweatpants, and my pajama top, essentially, in the pouring rain trying to save this kitten, and I couldn't, so I built it a tent, and it's still going. I heard it not too long ago. The street cat's surviving. So much love animals. But I grew to be really fond of these skunks. We've always had skunks here. A lot of skunks wandering around Burbank, and coyotes too. The apex predator of the bunch. Not had those in my yard. Had one in the alley at like 6 o'clock on a sunny Tuesday one day. But these skunks have been coming to my yard, and they've been coming for a while. And back in the day, Baxter, our bud who passed away in 2024, he hated the skunks. He could smell them a block away. And therefore, I kind of was always like, no one gets sprayed. And I grew up in suburbs, but I didn't go to the country a lot. I had a lot of rural areas in my hometown, but I didn't go hang out, with the wildlife that much there. So as much as I love it, sometimes have a little timid. So the skunk used to show up in the yard, and but these skunks started showing up. And one night I came home and there was 4. I have video of it. I've showed it on the Blathering. There was 4 skunks having a party in my backyard. And I wasn't afraid. I don't go out and run in the middle of them. They're afraid of you. They don't want to spray you either. They're adorable. These skunks are adorable. And You know, I tell people I got skunks in my yard. They're bad for your yard. They'll do this. I'm like, yeah, I got it. But I made eye contact with a skunk one night. I walked out onto my back patio, a little tiny patio, and they love going underneath it, and they love rooting around for stuff there. And I'll throw peanuts down, and they love peanuts, man. And the skunk and I made eye contact. And in that moment, I don't want to get sprayed. Oh, God, there's skunks here. All went away, and I just connected with this animal. And 3 skunks would regularly come by. A little tinier one, mid-sized one, and a bigger one. And I'm sorry, I'm sad to report. I was out on a walk the other day with my friend, and not too far away from my house, one of my skunks was dead. He had been hit by a car, and I could tell it was mine. It had pretty distinct skunks are skunks, but this one had a little bit more white on its back, and I could just tell by its size. I could just tell by everything. I could tell by what was going in my heart. It was one of my skunks, and I cried. I cried that day. I cried because as we all deal with dark things in our lives, dark things in the world, there's so many unexpected sources of joy. And for me, this past year, one of the biggest unexpected sources of joy is these cute, silly, potentially dangerous animals that have been hanging around my yard. And, you know, with the squirrels, some would, because I knew them, I named them, I know them, though they all have their winter coats, so I'll admit it's harder to tell which is which now. And I've got the 2 little ones, Squirt and Bumps, who are the little kids. Side note, I bet these squirrels go to other yards and have other names. I love that these squirrels probably have 13 different names from the 13 different houses they visit in Burbank. But there'll be times where, like, Squirrely, the mom character in my backyard play, wouldn't be around. And, you know, there's that thought of there's coyotes, there's owls, there's predators, there's also just life, and there's cars. And I would sometimes dread walking out, you know, sometimes in the morning. One time there was like a pine cone, and I just saw it from my front door, and I was like, oh, no, I think one of my squirrels got hit. Oh, my God. And sometimes in the afternoon, I'll see these squirrels playing in my front yard, and they'll dart across to the neighbor's yard, and a car will come by, and I'll just be like, Squirrely, no. Like, what? Squirrely, stay here. Stay in the safe house. But these animals have given me so much joy, and I lost one. A skunk. And it's so weird because there's 2 other skunks that kind of come, but there's just this one that would come. And I had put some peanuts out, and in the morning I noticed they were still there. And I went for a walk with my friend, and I saw that skunk, and I cried. I bring this up not to tell you a sad story about a skunk in my yard that I gave food and water to, but that we're all going through tough times here. The year is ending, and it's stressful, even if you got a good year. But for me and so many others, I know it's been just a shit year. And it's not necessarily going to automatically get better in 2026. Look for the joy. Let the joy find you. There's been so many mornings that I've woken up after going to bed down and out, depressed, angry, sad, crying, scared, alone, confused, and upset. And I've fought through a night of sleep, and I'd wake up, and it would be my squirrels. It'd be my blue jays. But it's unexpected sources of joy. Or sitting out there at nighttime, stressed about the day not going the way it wanted to, stressed about tomorrow, and I'd hear a rustling, and it'd be the skunk in the backyard. I lost a skunk. But I did not lose the joy. Go find your little moments of joy. Please, for me. Thanks for listening to the 3 things here. I almost said on the Napzok files because that's what it used to be, but it's Napzok Network on the podcast side. If you're listening on the podcast, thanks. Let me know on Blue Sky or Instagram or something. If you're still an audio listener, I really appreciate that. And if you're watching here on YouTube, consider subscribing, saying hi, leaving a comment, hyping the video, and telling me about your favorite little things of unexpected joy. I want to know. Seriously. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.